warrior clan returning from hell on the wings of courage, resilience, and determination. Enchanted by a mysterious eastern wind, is this their swan song or the harbinger of another brilliant Crimson Dynasty? To all those who doubt them, prepare for a red horizon.
Welcome to the Perfect World Shanghai Major Grand Finals, which will be between Team Spirit and FaZe.
All right, boys, here we go.
Very happy to be here for this one. And joining me on the desk, we've assembled the Analytical Avengers. We have Blair, we have Maui, we have Yanko. They will be offering their expertise ahead of this incredible match. Guys, pumped for this one, I'm absolutely certain.
We are on.
I think we're going to have an even better matchup to close out what has been an incredible year of Counter-Strike. It's been such a wonderful journey, seeing the rise and fall of different teams, seeing star players etch their names into history for the very first time, and really, it has just been lights out in terms of the level of CS that we have gotten at this event.
I think it also shows why we've been asking for the Major to be the last tournament in the season for so long, right? Especially in this sort of scenario where you had teams there for more than a month, just, you know, grinding, practicing. Obviously, a lot of officials starting with the RMRs, but we're seeing a really high level of Counter-Strike, and we've had a great playoffs, some great games. A bit of a surprise final, I think it's fair to say, but I think it's going to be exciting nonetheless.
Surprise indeed. Let's take a look how we got here. This is the bracket. Lots of shocks along the way, none more so than FaZe, which we will talk about in a moment. A lot of people thought maybe it was Nico's time, it was G2's destiny to lift the Major trophy. That one got away from him again before he goes on to greener pastures. Mouse weren't able to get it done either. Vitality, a lot of people had them as favorites. What a great bracket, by the way. I mean, just incredible level of CS overall. But in the end, this is what we have. The two last teams standing, Team Spirit versus FaZe. And just for everyone at home, I just have to stress how unbelievably unlikely it was to see FaZe in the final. I mean, the run they've had, it's almost unprecedented in Major history.
FaZe Clan, despite the name value, despite the fact that we have so many major appearances between the lot of them, coming into this event, Richard, it was 19 consecutive weeks where they were not even in the top 5. Like, yes, we know them as household names, but the level of CS that they were playing in the 3 months leading up to this was not to championship caliber whatsoever.
He almost felt like Karrigan was, you know, the dude with the stick, like poking his players, hey, do something, right? Because the individuals just weren't showing up. I mean, Mario was talking about it. Look at some of these losses. I mean, you lose to Saw in Cologne in the playoffs to such an unexperienced team. You lose to Complexity, right? In another playoffs, get eliminated by them. Even the one to Maus, like Maus not a bad team, sure, but FaZe had their number all year long. So that's the reason why you're looking at FaZe and you're not really counting on them to do it this time around.
Yeah, especially considering the you know how incredible they were this year at the beginning of the year, having multiple. They were the best CS2 team, the most consistent one, despite fewer titles. And then you had the heartbreak in Copenhagen, where, you know, King Karrigan was to be crowned in his home country, his home city, and instead gets stolen by Na'Vi, who continue to have their streak being the #1 team. And it felt like, for me, for a lot of us, in fact, that this could be it for FaZe. You know, the tapering off was just so abysmal. Just watching the players lose enthusiasm. They didn't feel like
they lost their mojo.
They lost their mojo. But when Karrigan, when he lit the pyres, when he called for aid, when in the hour, when the darkest hour, it was the soldiers who answered.
Well, I mean, look, just for context as well as how far FaZe had fallen, when you look at the pick'em data, more people pick Mongols to win this major than FaZe Clan. That's kind of where we're at now. That might just be because you're stupid, but whatever. Right? Okay. But anyway, what is going to have to happen here if FaZe are going to be victorious? They're going to have to overcome a team that has potentially the greatest rookie we have ever seen. This is the phenom Swarm, this is Donk, this is the player that, despite his tender years, is essentially propelling Spirit.
I mean, no one
Donk has just leapfrogged so many.
You would get Spirit up there, and FaZe up there. I mean, these guys went through the hard way, if I remember correctly, in regards to that. If I look at the elimination stage for that, I mean, if we go, I don't mind just putting this up here. We can just go through it together. If you I mean, they 3-0. Look, Mongols and Team Vitality 3-0, G2 and Team Spirit 3-1, FaZe 3-2. Seriously, 3-2. At the bottom of it, barely scraping by. Team Spirit didn't when it came to the opening stage. Oh wait, no, Team Spirit was invited, and G2 were invited. That's my bad. And FaZe was, but when it comes to the elimination stage, it was, oh my gosh. I mean, big props to Mouse for being a shit team at the beginning of the year and just coming all the way back to here. But I cannot, for the life of me, saw them trying to get against Mongols. Mongols, oh my God, Senzu, my man, where were you? Where were you, Senzu? Asleep for the 2 maps. Seriously, he didn't even activate at all. So we're looking at I don't know what we're expecting here, but we're expecting something big. I mean, if you look at the teams here, not the teams, but the players. Can we have a look at the players and what their rankings are for here right at the moment? No. Yeah. 13-9, 13-11, 13-3. Is it time? I mean, is it really time for it? Let's see if we can, yeah, that's one too. We can see regarding that if we can go all the way up to. I wish it'll be full it'll be a full match instead of being a wipeout like 2-0 or something like that. I hope my money's worth. What my money's worth.
This lineup, and he just turned it on, and this is insane from Robs. This is the highest by far, more than Donk, more than anyone in the playoff stage. He has put up these incredible numbers. This is like Robs of old, mind you, while doing it against Vitality, while doing it against G2 favorites for the major playoffs. He's come back when in the hour of need, the most dire hour of need, he comes and plays like this.
And one thing that I love that Dust, who's not on the desk with us right here, but he brought up and was sure to highlight every time talking about Robs, is that he's upping his entry attempt rate. Like, he is going for way more openers on T side in what was at times the worst of Robs in the months leading up to this tournament, where he felt a bit baity, kind of people would attribute his characteristics to somebody like Blame F, for example, just always in the back line.
You can't attribute Robs to Blame F. Seriously, Blame F's in a different league of being a
he's ready to strike without hesitation.
He's playing with a lot more confidence, and I can see this guy driving a Porsche. I mean, the older one.
Oh God, the Porsche.
A Yugo, and that's the way you feel like.
Oh, this is gonna be like
a much better from Rob. Sort of at the final moment against Fury in that 2-2 game on Mirage. Played lights out, really propelled his team into the playoffs, and has upped his form ever since. Luckily for FaZe, the rest of the guys picked up the slack as well, are sort of delivering in their particular roles, and that's why we see FaZe in the grand final.
Yeah, and it would be remiss of us if we didn't talk about the IGLs. Obviously, Carrigan, you run out of superlatives to describe his leadership style, his tactical acumen, his ability to get creative with vetoes and create chances in series that maybe FaZe aren't favorites for. Over on the other side with Chopper, he's had this plethora of talent to work with, but hasn't delivered as many trophies as maybe you would have hoped, and he has come in for some criticism of late.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, people forget how, you know, Chopper's been around for a long time. Everyone remembers the Vegas Squadron times back from 2017. He's been grinding it out in that tier 2, tier 1.5 scene for years right now, and finally, even before Donk, let's not forget, one of the greatest matches we ever saw in a major was an Antwerp game, and it was Chopper going up against Carrigan as well. But finally, for him finding this piece, this weapon of mass destruction and honing it in, it seems like he's finally getting what he's been grinding out for such a long time. But you cannot deny,
Jesus Christ, Carrigan's rating still 0.82.
This is fourth major final across the span of 6 years. No one's ever
the meme of 0.9 is really getting into him, isn't it? 0.83?
As a player in IGL, and has done it alongside Rain as well. So there's some really cool storylines on both the teams here.
In terms of just longevity, I mean, Carrigan has Chopper completely covered in this regard. He's got him beat 19 majors to 9. He has 3 times as many major playoffs that he's actually gotten to. And in terms of how I would describe Carrigan, he's just the most pragmatic leader ever. In a moment, if he finds that something's not working for his team, he makes that mid-half adaptation. It doesn't even need to be a late-in-the-half call to change things up. If he immediately recognizes the game plan is not working, he will switch things up on a dime. And that's why we rate him so highly, because he can look like FaZe Clan first gun round. Wow, they're just going to get blown out of this one. Immediate 180 in terms of mentality, in terms of change. He's not only a great tactician, but a leader too.
Always cooking, never overcooking. I think that's the thing with Carrigan, right? Just an incredible understanding of every single matchup, the different matchups that he has, you know, going up against someone like Vitality, some inexperienced players like that, forcing it into Anubis as the third out of their comfort zone, right? So
what are the have they actually picked them?
Like we talked about in that
they
game,
haven't picked them
out, right?
Map
Against
bans.
G2, just dominant across the board, and I think really cannot be understated, right? The state in which FaZe was in coming into this tournament. We talked about
they were broken when they came
FaZe
in.
was 1-0 down in that series, down on Dust 2 on the T side, and then Carrigan steps up with a couple of great calls and couple of rounds won by his play, you know, double entries in those mid to B splits. He really gave that energy. He bought enough time for Robs to come online and other guys to show up, and he's just so good at sort of finding that extra gear for himself when his team is struggling. Just give them a little bit more time for everyone else to get together, and again, an incredible run, especially considering, man, these teams have owned them all year long. Vitality owned them.
G2.
Except for which tournament? The Copenhagen Major. G2 beat them comfortably plenty of times, lost to them here in the playoffs. It's the same story with Spirit. Spirit has been owning them all year long, except for which tournament? The Copenhagen Major. Yet again, in the quarterfinal, where safe to say, FaZe was the underdog. We just came from that Katowice final where they lost 3-0. So I think the players from FaZe absolutely understand that this is a whole different ball game compared to, you know, your group stages and your other tournaments, even if it is a playoff game. And I think, unfortunately, it's something that's going to be at the back of the Spirits players' heads. And just psychologically, FaZe has an advantage coming into this one.
All right, guys. Well, we are going to go to Shanghai now for the grand final opening.
Here we go. Here we go. Here we go. Are we ready to do this? Going to set my settings. I'll be back. Actually, no.